Dinosaurs once ruled the Earth, both on the land and in the ocean, but due to a cataclysmic event, these magnificent creatures were consigned to history. Today, the only place you can see a dinosaur is in a museum or the movies. Or is it? We are constantly discovering new creatures, and some of them are very similar to those that roamed the Earth hundreds of millions of years ago. In this video, we'll be investigating 5 incredible dinosaurs that can be found alive on Earth. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Komodo dragon. The word dinosaur means terrible lizard, and while there are a number of different species of small lizard alive on Earth today, the largest specimens you'll find on the planet are Komodo dragons, also known as Komodo monitor lizards. They come from Indonesia's Lesser Sunda Islands, where they've lived in the harsh climate for millions of years. These beasts can live for 30 years, grow up to 10 feet long, and some have been weighed at more than 300 pounds. They have long heads with round snouts, scaly skin, and muscular tails, and look as close to what you'd think of as a dinosaur as any other creature. The reason these lizards have grown to be the way they are is because they live in relative isolation on the archipelago with no natural predators. There are only a few thousand of them on the islands, and they feast on anything they can catch, including deer, pigs, smaller dragons, and even large buffalo. They are fierce hunters, relying on camouflage and patience. They will lie in wait until their prey walks past and suddenly leap into action, grabbing with their sharp claws and biting. Anything that manages to escape this initial attack will not survive for long either, because the saliva of Komodo dragons is teeming with more than 50 different strains of bacteria that'll poison animals and cause death within 24 hours. The dragon will simply follow its prey until it runs out of energy, and has a keen sense of smell to help it locate the corpse. They are hungry animals too, and are able to eat the equivalent of 3/4 of their own body mass in just one sitting. Komodos first became known to Western explorers in 1910 by the Dutch, who were in search of a fabled land crocodile. The aura around these incredible creatures led to an exploration of the islands in 1926 by W. Douglas Burden, who was responsible for giving them their name. The specimens collected during this trip were brought back and displayed, and were cited as the inspiration behind the original King Kong movie, because people at the time thought it was proof that gigantism in the animal kingdom truly existed. Of course, no other unusually giant species of animal have been found since, meaning the Komodos are alone in being one of the true dinosaur relatives that can still be found walking on the planet. Number 4. The coelacanth. This next strange creature is the coelacanth, a deep sea fish that is thought to grow up to 5.6 feet long and weighs up to 200 pounds. Long known from the fossil records, they were thought to have died out 65 million years ago in the same event that caused the extinction of the dinosaurs. That was until a South African museum curator found one while on a fishing trawler in 1938. Since then, a number of further specimens have been identified, but they are very rare and difficult to catch, in part because they live so deep down in the seas. The scarcity means that not a whole lot is known about the coelacanth, with researchers believing they can live for more than 60 years on a diet of small fish and debris that sinks to the depths from the surface. There are 2 known species of coelacanth, one that comes from the Comoros Islands that lie just off the east coast of Africa, and the other from Sulawesi in Indonesia. It's thought that their unique characteristics are one of the steps in evolution that saw animals emerge from the water and move onto land in the first place. The main clue to this is their unusual paired lobe fins that protrude away from their body and move in an alternating pattern similar to the movement of a horse. It also has a hinged jaw that allows it to open its mouth wide and eat large prey, and an oil-filled tube called a notochord that acts as its backbone under the pressures it's subjected to at such depths. It also has very thick scales that have only otherwise been seen in prehistoric fish, and it has an electrosensory organ that allows it to detect prey in the darkness, similar to that of a shark's. They're very similar now to how they were millions of years ago, and this is thought to be because of the lack of evolutionary pressure. They live in a relatively stable marine environment with very few natural predators. Since the initial discovery in 1938, a number of further specimens have been found, leading it to be known as a Lazarus taxon, one that had disappeared from the fossil record and then reappeared. Most finds actually come from fish markets where they hold very little value. While they are prized collector's items, they aren't great to eat because they're full of oils that make their flesh taste horribly bitter. Number 3. Hagfish. Hagfish are one of the most disgusting animals you'll find on Earth and have changed very little from the ones that lived more than 300 million years ago. They look similar to eels and have 4 pairs of thin tentacles that protrude from around their mouths that are used to detect prey and carcasses. Once they track down a meal, they latch on and eat their way into the flesh. These are one-of-a-kind animals though, so much so that there's a yearly day dedicated to them on the 3rd Wednesday of October. There are around 76 different known specimens of hagfish that are found in cold waters around the world from depths ranging between the shallows and up to 5,500 feet deep. They don't need to eat their food as they're able to absorb nutrients through their skin and can go for months on end without feeding. The unique thing about the hagfish is the slime that they produce. When they release it, it can expand up to more than 5 gallons worth of gelatinous material when it's mixed with water. This is used to fend off predators because the water around them becomes so sticky, and it also helps them to slip away from attacks. This slime has become of interest to scientists who think that its properties could be incredibly useful to design new medicines, and is also being investigated as an alternative to spider silk in the production of body armor. Despite being on the planet for far longer than humans, 14 of the species of hagfish are deemed to be at risk of extinction because of changing marine environments and overfishing, both intentionally and unintentionally. They are vital to marine ecosystems by helping to recycle debris from dead animals, so hopefully the decline of their populations will stop before it's too late. Number 2. Sturgeon. The word sturgeon is an umbrella word that describes 27 different species of fish, each of which can be traced back to the Triassic period about 220 million years ago. Some of the species can grow quite large, with specimens measuring up to 12 feet being common. The biggest sturgeon ever caught was more than twice that, at 24 feet long, and weighed 3,463 pounds. Despite having been around for so long, the fish in the waters today are very similar to those from the fossil record, so they're referred to as primitive fishes. They're native to temperate waters in the northern hemisphere, and are found in the coastal and river regions of Eurasia and North America. Most species spend their time in the ocean, only swimming up rivers to breed, but there are other varieties that spend their entire life cycles in freshwater. Sturgeon are bony fish, and their skeleton is made from cartilage. This is the one difference from their ancestors who had skeletons made of bone, but everything else about their anatomy is the same. They have barbels that dangle from around their mouths and help them detect food, and their bodies are covered by lateral rows of bony plates known as scutes instead of scales. They're also thought to be one of the longest living species of fish, which is linked to the enormous size that they can grow to, with some specimens living for more than 100 years. Their long lives also mean that they have a long life cycle, only becoming sexually mature at 20 years old, and they are also very sensitive to changing environments. This, combined with the fact that they're valued for their caviar, means that they are severely overfished, and are, as a result, diminishing in numbers. The International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources has listed 85% of sturgeon species at risk of extinction, which makes them more endangered than any other wild species on Earth. As demand for caviar increases, this problem is further compounded, and they're expected to be very rare indeed in a number of decades. Number 1. Frilled sharks. Frilled sharks are peculiar creatures, and just the look of them seems prehistoric. They are found across the globe in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, typically near the bottom. They've been found as far north as Scotland and Norway, and in a wide spread including off the coast of Brazil, Chile, and New Zealand. Despite this range, they are a rare find, mainly due to their ability to live in most oceanic environments. Some specimens have been caught at depths of 5,150 feet, but they usually don't go far below 3,900 feet. They grow to a length of 6.6 feet and have a dark brown-colored eel-like body. They're often called living fossils because of how little they've changed since prehistoric times, with researchers believing they swam in the oceans as long as 400 million years ago. Frilled sharks are possibly what ancient mariners thought were sea serpents. They have elongated bodies and have more than 300 teeth in their mouths that grip onto their prey. They have 6 pairs of gill slits along their bodies, which is where they get their name from, and they have a very unusual fin layout with the dorsal, pelvic, and anal fins set much further back than other fish. There are at least 2 different known species of frilled shark, each with a slightly different structure and coloring. They are perfectly designed to live in the deep sea, and are able to move around in the water column with very little effort. They are extremely sensitive to minute movements of prey in the water, quickly home in on them, and feed on whatever they can find. The frilled sharks were around during the extinction event that killed all of the dinosaurs and a number of marine creatures, but are believed to have been able to hide in crevices in shallow waters to seek shelter from the effects of the global catastrophe, before leaving them again and introducing themselves to new areas that were left empty by less fortunate animals. While they only grow to a modest size, and may not seem too frightening at first glance, there are fossil records of much larger species of frilled sharks. It's quite possible, some researchers say, that these variants still exist in the depths of the ocean too. It's just a matter of time until one is found. Super exciting news, everybody! The time has finally come. Head over to Come Along and enjoy the positivity from cool life hacks and crazy experiments to real-life shocking facts and puzzles and animated riddles to keep your brain active and entertained. Click the circle button on the screen right now to subscribe to this awesome channel that's soon to explode across YouTube. Come on, press that subscribe button and watch the first video, or click the link in the description. We promise you'll love it.